stocks will go up on a single day based on these rumors. Especially the Asian investors, they're famously sensitive to all of these kind of policy rumors. And I think that's interesting, but what really matters is liquidity, lending. And frankly, last 2 months, we've seen a real improvement in liquidity, interbank liquidity in China. And so in a typical banking system, including in China, you have reserves. Banks have reserves with the central bank, the PBOC. And then when they lend, some of that loan is set aside as reserves. So by increasing the total reserves, you can increase the potential lending in the economy. And January total social financing numbers, the broad money supply is actually very strong in January this year. So it looks like the conditions are there for a rebound in lending that might have a negative impact on the currency, but it's actually really positive for shares. And to me, this looks a little bit like 2016 when there was a slight devaluation in August 2015, and then there was a liquidity injection, and also I think broader credit growth through high mortgage lending and such. So the thing is, the Chinese economy is very weak, and that's obvious when you had construction being almost 30% of the economy, and suddenly it's imploding due to restriction of lending. But let's remember, if the leadership wants to do something, they have all the tools at their disposal. And I don't think that they will want to underwrite massive unemployment. I think the Chinese leadership wants stability above all. So I will not rule out any kind of stimulus. And perhaps it would look different than in the past. It will not go through the property market. But it could well happen that you will see greater lending, perhaps in select industries like autos or semiconductors, whatever it might be. But I've seen so many cycles at this point. I started investing in China in 2008, and 2007 was a boom, 2010 another boom, 2013 there was a low in the Asian market. It felt very much like today. I would go to these conferences and meet local investors, and they were just so despondent. And I feel very much the same kind of sentiment today. They just, people say there's nothing, they can't see anything positive, and that's fine. But we can't predict the future. And if you've seen cycles every 3 to 5 years, I think it's safe to say there will probably be another cycle again, most likely.
You mentioned you have a very different perspective. Are you thinking that there may be a rebound and then there is a recovery to maybe not to the all-time high, or maybe there are some indicators that tell you that maybe something is going to change on that front? I think you mentioned some of these potential changes that might come in, or should we just be pessimistic about it?
Well, it's very hard to guess what's going to happen to a broader index. It partly depends on what's in that index.